recognized the look. It was the same way she looked at her kids. When Marvin's kindergarten team won a basketball match, when Daisy got a sticker at preschool for being good, when Florence drew a picture that actually resembled something, rather than just red blobs. She heard them all utter the word mommy for the first time. Whenever one of them said something intelligible, rather than just chatter. Robin yawned and stretched out her legs, accidentally jostling her husband's head and waking him. He groaned in displeasure and looked up at her expectantly. "Morning, Sleeping Beauty. You're right, I am beautiful. And 175% awesome." Robin grinned. "An idiot, is what you are." Barney raised an eyebrow. "I believe you pronounced awesome wrong. Didn't you learn English in Canada?" Robin rolled her eyes. "Canada speaks English. And French. Like, why?" Robin turned to Ted, the only other person in the gang who speaks fluent French. "Mon Dieu, il est stupide. Pourquoi nous associons nous tous avec lui? Je sais pas, Robin." "Stop it!" Barney yelled. "I don't know what you're saying." "That's kinda the point." Barney crosses his arms, faking being angry. An abnormally loud firework exploded and made him jump, making the others laugh. "I hate you all," he growled, while trying to contain his own smile. /N. Barney stood at the end of one of the aisles in the auditorium, bouncing Aurelia. She had run a small fever last night, and still wasn't feeling well. It had only been 2 degrees higher than usual, which wasn't that dangerous for 3-month-olds, but it still made the poor baby feel unwell. He looked over to where the rest of the gang were sitting. Marshall, Lily, Ted and Tracy were all watching the toddlers prance around the stage, but Robin was almost asleep on top of Lily. She had been the one up for the better part of the night with Aurelia. She was exhausted, and he didn't blame her. He turned his eyes back to the stage in time to see the group of 3-year-olds run off and another group run on. Penny's pre-K were putting on a dance recital for parents. A matinee performance on a Wednesday morning. Naturally, Ted had forced the whole gang to come. Barney had tried his hardest to get out of it but didn't have any luck. Everyone, besides Robin, had to take the day off work to attend. The lights came on and the group of kids on stage started to dance. Ted shot from his seat, the camcorder in his hand as he recognized his daughter. He startled Robin awake. "Woo! Go Penny! Go baby girl! Ted, sit down!" Tracy yelled, as she yanked her fiancé's hand and pulled him back down into his seat. Barney laughed. That was such a Ted thing to do. He pitied Penny and Luke. They had to grow up with a father as embarrassing as Ted Mosby. And Barney couldn't believe he had a camcorder. It was 2018, couldn't he just use an iPhone like everyone else? "Okay, is anyone hungry?" Ted asked. They had finally finished watching the recital and all the kids had been returned to their classrooms. The 6 adults were standing out the front of the school. Everly was sleeping peacefully in the baby John on Robin's chest, and Aurelia was asleep in the stroller. Lily was rocking the stroller back and forth to keep her knees sleeping, while Barney had both his arms wrapped around Robin. "Starved? Where do you wanna go?" Marshall asked. The others laughed. That was a dumb question. They hadn't been in a while, but McLaren's had been home for them for so many years. Some of the most important moments in their lives had happened there or right around it. Plus, they made great food. McLaren's was the only logical place to eat. "Robin, stairs," Barney warned as the gang neared the entrance to their beloved bar. If he had let go of her, she would have passed out on the concrete, that's how exhausted she was. She replied, without making an attempt to steady herself. Barney smiled. "Baby, I know you're tired, but I can't hold you and help Marshall with the stroller at the same time." Robin nodded, but still didn't budge. "Here, I got this," Ted said, stepping down to take the bottom half of the stroller. With Marshall's aid, they managed to get it down without waking Aurelia. A miracle, really. Now I remember why we never brought strollers in here when Marvin was born. Lily commented. It was a tight fit, and weaving it around booths and tables would be even more challenging. It would be a more responsible choice to leave it upstairs, but then Aurelia wouldn't sleep. Barney opened the door to the bar and let the other four pile in with the stroller before pulling it closed behind them. "Hey! Look who it is!" Carl yelled enthusiastically. He abandoned the drink he was making to come out from behind the bar to greet who used to be the bar's 5, then 6, most loyal regulars. "Hey guys! How are you doing?" Robin groaned. "Sure, you're being too loud. I'm trying to sleep." Carl snickered and turned to Barney. "She was much nicer before you knocked her up. I'm literally right here." Barney smiled and kissed the top of her head. Robin was sitting in the booth, Barney on her right side. Her head was on her husband's shoulder. Everly started to stir, but Barney quickly reached down to stroke her head and she fell asleep again. Across the bar, a waitress dropped a plate, splashing ceramic and food everywhere. It woke Aurelia up, and she started wailing. Robin groaned and let out a sob. "Aurelia, baby girl." She moved to get the baby from the stroller, but Barney stopped her. "I got this." He gently pushed Robin's head off and stood up, taking his daughter from the stroller, pacing a few paces away from the others to calm her. "Oh, look at him. Calming his daughter in the same spot he once celebrated not a Father's Day," Lily commented. Ted laughed. "Who would have thought?" A little later, when the gang were eating lunch, the twins started getting restless because they were hungry. Barney pulled Everly out of the stroller, and passed her to Robin, who started nursing her. Marshall quickly got up to go get the next round of drinks. Ted, oblivious to his niece's cries of hunger, unsuspectingly looked up from his food, and quickly shielded his eyes. "Sorry. Sorry," he cried, looking away as fast as he could. Barney and Tracy snickered, as they found this situation hilarious. Robin rolled her eyes. "You act like you've never seen them before. It's been 12 years. Ted protested. "Next time give me warning." Robin looked confused. "Why? What's wrong with it, dude? I just don't want Barney thinking I have lingering feelings for his wife or Tracy thinking I have feelings for her best friend. Hey guys, look at that. He has no lingering feelings for Robin anymore. It only took 2 kids and 4 years." Tracy teased. "She's the only girl Ted has ever been with, besides Robin obviously, that has been completely cool with the fact that the two dated. Maybe it was because she'd only known Robin to be in a committed relationship." "Oh ha ha." Ted sighed, sitting back in his seat. Once both twins were fed and happy, Marshall retreated back to the booth, bearing drinks. As he was sitting down, a woman approached the table. "Whoa, not a lot has changed in 6 years, hey?" she said. The gang looked up, everyone except Tracy recognizing the woman. "Victoria, hey!" Lily cried, standing up to hug Ted's ex. "Hey!" Ted trailed off, wrapping his arm tighter around Tracy. She smiled at her former friends and boyfriend, and took a double take when she saw Barney, Aurelia mostly asleep in his arms. "Am I going insane or does Barney have a baby?" "You're not going insane, but it's a fair assumption. This is my daughter. Lemme guess, you got some skank pregnant. I guess you could call me a skank." Robin mumbled, resting her head on Barney's shoulder again. "Oh. Sorry." Robin yawned. "It's okay. I've been called worse. Have a seat, Victoria." Lily offered, oblivious to Ted's pleading eyes, telling her to not invite his ex-girlfriend to sit down with them. She pulled up another chair beside Ted. "So, what else is going on?" "Barney and Robin have a daughter. Twins, actually." Marshall supplied. "Barney and Robin have twin daughters. What about everyone else? How old is Marvin now?" Victoria continued. Lily smiled. "He's 6. Wow, that's crazy. Has he got any other siblings yet?" Marshall nodded. 2 sisters. Daisy and Florence. He held out his phone, and Victoria took it, studying the picture of the kids. It was taken on Daisy's 4th birthday party, earlier that year. Robin had been 6 months pregnant, and the kids had been sitting on the couch with her. Marvin had been 5, and he was sitting beside her, 14-month-old Florence in his lap. Daisy was on one of Robin's knees, and 9-month-old Luke was on the other knee. Penny was sitting on the other side of her, too busy eating to smile at the camera. "Who are the other kids?" Victoria asked, zooming into the Mosby kids' faces. Ted looked uncomfortable. "That's my daughter, Penny, and my son Luke." He cleared his throat. "And, this is their mother and my fiancée, Tracy." Victoria didn't look even a little bit taken aback. "So, you finally found the one?" "He did. At Robin and my wedding. She was the bass player in the band." Barney explained, slightly shifting Aurelia. "What about you?" "Well, I met my husband, Lucas, while working in a German pastry shop. We got married in 2015, in Germany, but moved to New York just before my son was born. Now, have 2 kids. Nicholas is 2 and Emilia Michelle is 10 months. Victoria replied. She checked the time on her phone, then smiled and stood up. "Anyway, it was nice talking, but I have to go meet my sister soon. See you guys around, maybe." The others nodded, as Victoria grabbed her bag and smiled, then walked away. "Well, that was awkward." Barney laughed. Robin sat up straight. "No kidding. I pretended to be asleep for that whole conversation." "You thought it was awkward?" "That's my ex-girlfriend, who I broke up with because I tried to cheat on her with you. Then, years later, I let her leave someone at the altar for me, and then she broke off our engagement months later because of, once again, you. You're a mess, dude." Tracy laughed. Ted rolled his eyes and sunk down in his seat while the others laughed. As Robin looked around at the others, teasing Ted and laughing at him, she felt a wave of nostalgia. But, as much as she missed being young and wild, she loved her life now even more and wouldn't trade anything she's been through with Barney or her daughters for the world. /N. Barney rushed around the apartment, showing Carly everything she needed to know. The twins would be 5 months old in 4 days, which was insane. They were starting to get older, and it was crazy. They both giggled and laughed at random times and babbled to each other. It sometimes took him and Robin by surprise, because they weren't used to the twins making proper sounds yet. They could also both sit up on their own. To Barney and Robin, though, it still felt like they would open the nursery door and see newborns. They were growing up so fast. Robin was going back to work next week. Barney's half-sister, Carly, had agreed to be their nanny. She was between jobs, not really having a set plan for her future. But, spending the days with her nieces, and getting paid a considerable amount of money for it sounded great. Plus, she was someone both Barney and Robin could trust with the girls. So tonight, was their first, and only trial run. It was Barney's 25-year high school reunion, and he wasn't allowed to bring the twins. That's pretty much it. "Do you think you guys will be okay?" "Absolutely," Carly replied, holding Aurelia in the air. "You tell Daddy you'll be fine with Aunt Carly, okay?" Barney smiled at his daughter. "Hi, Princess." He looked at Carly. "I know you're capable of taking care of them. Now where the hell is Robin?" "Baby, come on, we gotta go." He got no answer, so he wandered into the bedroom, looking for his wife. She was in the bathroom. "Babe, come on. We have to leave or we're going to be late." He knocked on the door. "What are you doing?" Robin looked at the door from across the bathroom. She was standing at the mirror, her hair and makeup done, but she was only wearing a bra and underwear. There were dresses strewn across the floor. She had bought one to wear tonight, but after trying it on again, she was scared it made her look fat. She hadn't lost all the baby weight yet. Motherhood had taken her by surprise. She loved it so much more than she thought she ever could have, and she loved those girls and Barney more than anyone in the entire universe. She loved the girls so much, and naturally she'd have evidence from her pregnancy with them. But her looks were important to her, especially since she was a journalist on national TV. She was scared she didn't have enough time to lose the weight. Barney knocked on the door again, and this time Robin opened it. "Finally, baby, come on. We have to go." "I can't." Barney's heart leapt into his throat. "Why not? I look so fat in all these dresses." "It's the baby weight. I should have done more to lose it." Barney shook his head, looking almost insulted that she could even suggest that she has any unwanted weight. "Baby, trust me, you look great." He stepped forward, wrapping his arms around her waist. "To you, yeah. But, I have to go back on national TV, where there are tons of judgmental people who don't understand. Do you know how self-conscious that makes me? Plus, it's your 25-year reunion. You want to show off to your old classmates that your wife is hot, and I am not hot right now. Robin Stinson, you are the most beautiful woman in the world. Don't ever say you're not hot again, because we both know it's not true. Please just trust me when I say you are totally exaggerating about the weight. This is coming from me, and I used to be the biggest judge of women's weight in the entire world. You look amazing, babe, please trust me." Robin chewed on her bottom lip, a habit she tended to do when she was nervous, and looked into the mirror, examining herself. She breathed deeply. "Okay. I trust you." Barney smiled. "Thank you." He kissed her head. "Now let me help you pick a dress. We really have to leave." "Carly, are you sure you'll be okay?" Robin asked. Carly rolled her eyes at her sister-in-law. They had already been through this 4 times. Robin and Barney were just about to leave when she asked again. "Yes. Relax, Robin. Have a good night." "They're fine, babe. Come on." Okay. I'm leaving. Bye, Carly." "Bye, girlies." As soon as they walked into the hall, Robin needed to use the bathroom, leaving Barney alone. He was at the refreshments table, looking around. All his classmates changed so much. It was weird seeing everyone here with their husbands and wives. "Whoa, Stinson. I barely recognized you without your mascara and magic." A man approached the table. Barney looked at him. Harrison Padmore. He was a jerk to everyone, especially Barney, throughout all middle school and high school. One of Matthew Panning's posse. "Oh, ha, Harrison." Barney sarcastically replied. "So, what's going on? You busy dying alone?" Barney scoffed. "No, actually. I'll have you know I'm married." Harrison grinned. "Where is she then?" "In the bathroom." "Come on, the old she's in the bathroom trick." "That won't work." Barney scowled and held up his left hand. "I'm married, dude." Harrison grinned. "So, what girl was desperate enough to marry you? Is she a trophy wife, Barney?" Barney had honestly had enough. He had been taunted by this boy when he was a teenager, and he wasn't going to let him continue with his childish teasing now. "She's actually a successful journalist. News anchor at Worldwide News." "Aha. You expect me to believe a successful woman married you?" Barney rolled his eyes and looked towards the bathroom, just in time to watch Robin come out. She looked gorgeous. "Damn," Harrison stated, looking over at Robin. Barney's first instinct was to punch him, but instead took a different approach. An idea he got from Marshall. Barney looked at Harrison. "First one to get her to kiss them, gets $100. Deal. You're going down, Stinson." Both guys got up and walked over to Robin. Harrison cleared his throat. "Hey, pretty lady." Robin raised her eyebrows, and looked at Barney. He grinned and put an arm around her hip, bringing her closer to him. He kissed her passionately, which she returned. Barney even dipped her slightly, just to rub it in Harrison's face a little more. When they broke apart, Barney looked over to the other man, who looked a little awestruck. "That'll be $100, Padmore." "What, how?" Barney smiled. "Allow me to introduce my wife, Robin. Baby, this is Harrison Padmore. He was the biggest jerk in school." Harrison narrowed his eyes at Barney, then turned to Robin. "Hi, nice to meet you." He stuck out his hand, which she declined. "Your husband was the biggest virgin at school." Robin smiled sweetly, catching on to the teasing vibe between the two guys. "Clearly not anymore. We have 2 kids. Barney gets nailed almost every night without making an effort. How hard do you have to try to get laid?" "Whatever." Harrison stalked off. Barney pulled Robin closer, kissing her forehead. You are the best wife ever. Thanks, baby. She smiled. Now, how many other losers were jerks to you in school that we can now boast to? Barney grinned. He loved that woman so damn much. /N. Everly and Aurelia's first milestones started much sooner than Barney and Robin expected. First, there was smiles, laughs, rolling over, sleeping through the night, babbling nonsense to each other. All the little things that all babies do, but make parents realize they are growing up. As the girls got older, the bigger milestones began coming. The 5th of November, 2018. Ted and Lily had been nagging at Barney and Robin to get the twins started on solids for weeks. It was Sunday morning, when they had finally decided to give them their first taste of anything other than breast milk. Barney turned his iPhone camera, which was already recording, onto Aurelia in the high chair. Do we just give it to them like this? Robin asked, turning the jar over in her hands. Barney shrugged. I guess so. But, do we have to warm it up or something? I don't know. Here, take the camera. Let me check. Barney handed her his phone and took the jar from her. Robin smiled at her daughter. Hey beautiful girl. She kissed Aurelia's cheek, then bent down to Everly, who was on the ground, chewing on a stuffed animal. She kissed her other daughter's head, then stood up again. It doesn't say anything about microwaving it. Barney stated. As they both read the label, there was a very distinct voice from the ground. Mama. Barney dropped the jar, which smashed into pieces on the floor. Both ignored it and stared at each other, mouths open and eyes widened. Did she just? Robin nodded. Say mama. I think so. She just said her first word. Barney trailed off, then looked at his phone, still recording in his wife's hand. And we got it on camera. He put his hand out to high-five her, which she returned. Yes. Lily's going to die. Robin smiled. Pay up, by the way. Damn it. Barney yelled, reaching into his pocket and pulling out $20. He handed it to Robin. They had made a bet when the girls were newborns on whether Mama or Dada would be uttered first. Thank you, sir. The 19th of November, 2018. Barney was lying on his stomach on the ground, both twins on their tummies in front of him. Robin laid on the couch, watching them. Okay, Evie. You can do this. Dada. Dada. Come on baby girl. She looked at him, her eyes innocent. Mama. No. Come on, Everly. Dada. Barney ordered. She stayed silent. Everly Elise Stinson. Say Dada. Robin jumped up from the couch and pulled Everly into her arms. Okay, babe. Maybe let's stop ordering our 6-month-old to speak, okay? Barney sighed. Fine. He turned to Aurelia. Okay, princess. My favorite daughter. He glared at Everly. Robin rolled her eyes. Can you say Dada? Aurelia started whimpering. Barney's eyes softened. Sorry, baby girl. Come here. Sure. He picked her up and started rocking her in his arm. Later that night, as Barney and Robin were putting the twins to bed, Aurelia uttered one simple word. Of. Oh my God, Barney. Robin whispered, beckoning him over from Everly's crib. What's up? He asked, seeming concerned, and coming over to her. I think she just said love. Barney's eyes widened. Can she even say love? It was more like of, but it sounded like she said love. She doesn't know what it means, but it's still adorable. Robin replied. It made sense. They said I love you to the girls, and to each other all the time. It was perfectly normal for babies to pick up on words they heard often. We love you too, baby girl. Barney said. Even if your first word wasn't daddy or dada. Robin laughed and slapped his shoulder. The 30th of November, 2018. On the last day of November, Barney was stuck in a long meeting. It was past 7 p.m. now, and he was desperate to get home to his girls. The door suddenly opened, and the receptionist walked in. Barney's boss jumped up. Francesca. We're in a meeting, I said do not disturb us for anything short of an emergency. I'm sorry. She said it was an emergency. Francesca replied. She turned to Barney. Mr. Stinson, your wife. She said it was urgent. Barney's heart started pounding. He jumped up and grabbed the phone, muttering a quick thanks to Francesca. He put the phone to his ear, not caring that everyone could hear him. Baby, what's wrong? Are you okay? Are the twins okay? Let me get my stuff, I'll be home as quick as I can. Oh my God, Barn. What happened? Are you alright? Yes. Oh my God, oh my God. Aurelia crawled. Barney stopped, his mouth dropping open. She did. That's amazing. He stopped and looked around at his co-workers, who didn't look impressed, so faked a reaction. Wait, what? Oh no, oh God, babe. What hospital are you at? Do they think she's gonna be okay? Oh, are you in the room with people? Okay, just pretend you have to get to the hospital, and come home. I videoed it, and sent it to you. Watch that on the way. Oh God, of course. Of course. I'll be right there. Bye gorgeous, hang in there. He hung up the phone and rushed from the room, assuming they understood. Once he was in the privacy of his own office, Barney checked his messages and watched the video. He was overcome with emotion. His baby girls were growing up. /N. Barney held Aurelia above his head, swinging her slightly, while she giggled and grinned at her daddy. The 7-month-old was getting so good at crawling now, which meant Barney and Robin had to baby-proof the apartment, which they did. Everly still hadn't yet, which was fine. She was better at talking, and could already repeat simple words, and she knew a couple of words too. They were both good at recognizing their name, which was good for their godparents, who couldn't tell the difference. Catch up, slowpoke. Robin called back to Barney. He pulled Aurelia onto his hip and ran forward to walk beside his wife, grabbing her hand. Ready to see Santa, girls? Barney grinned. Yeah. You girls are gonna see Santa Claus. He's the best. He brings presents. Robin smiled at him and kissed his cheek. He was so cute with their daughters. It was a 45-minute line, and while sitting on Santa's lap, Everly just wanted to pull his beard, and Aurelia was crying. Despite that, though, the photo came out really cute. Both Barney and Robin were really happy with it. They had finished up with Santa, and were now getting a few last-minute gifts and groceries for Christmas Day tomorrow. Barney, Robin and the girls were headed towards a toy store, to see if the dollhouse Penny wanted that they had ordered in was in stock yet. Barney was back from Robin slightly, carefully throwing Everly around, without letting go of her obviously, while Aurelia sat happily on her mom's hip. Robin? A male voice asked. She froze. She'd recognized that voice anywhere. Crap. Barney jogged up to her, noticing she was worried. He had spotted who was talking to her, and was scared himself. It's okay, it's okay. Be nice, baby. It's Christmas Eve, get in the spirit and be kind to him. She nodded and turned around. Hey Dad. Merry Christmas, Robin. Barney. He came closer, studying the twins. Are these my granddaughters? No, no. They're just some kids we found out the front of the mall. Robin replied sarcastically. Robin. Barney muttered. Be nice. Fine. They're my daughters, and biologically, they are your granddaughters, but you will never be their grandfather. You didn't earn that title. Her father looked confused. I don't understand. Barney rolled his eyes. Grow up, honestly. You haven't talked to your daughter in a year, despite knowing she was pregnant. You can't expect to come here and her be all smiles. You really hurt her. You could have asked her to meet up and talk things over. You could have called to ask how she was going, or how long until her due date. But, you didn't want to make things right. You obviously don't care about getting to know your granddaughters. Suppose I did want to make things right, and did want to get to know my granddaughters, how would I go about doing that? Do you really want to? Robin asked. Do you really care about them? Don't think for a second I'm letting you near my babies if you're going to act like you did when I was little. Robin, I'm getting older. I should be spending time with you, and your sister. And my granddaughters. I want to be a part of their lives. He sighed, then added, I'm sorry for being such a bad father. I'm sorry I didn't call. Can you accept my apology? I would like nothing more than to be a part of your daughters' lives. Okay. Robin sniffed. This was a real apology. He was apologizing for real. Barney made it happen. Again. He smiled. I must go. Carol wants me home soon. He started to walk away, then looked back. They're beautiful, Robin. I'm proud of you. Robin's eyes were watering as he left. She threw herself into Barney, who caught her, and kissed her head. It's a Christmas miracle. He whispered into her head. She pulled back, laughing, and pushed him. No miracles. Later that night, Barney and Robin sat on the couch. The twins were both bathed and sleepy in their laps. The Skype call rang once more before Genevieve picked up. Robin. Barney. She yelled. Robin waved. Hey Mom. Oh my goodness. Katie. Robin's on Skype. The 30-year-old sprinted into the kitchen, taking the laptop from her mother. Hey. How are you? How are my nieces? We're all good. Robin laughed. I can't believe you're still living at home, Katie. Move out. I moved to a different country at 23. Nah. Katie replied. Now, let me see Everly and Aurelia. The Skype call lasted half an hour before the twins became fussy. After putting cookies and milk out for Santa for the twins, then putting the girls to bed, Barney and Robin got started on their Santa setup. Everly and Aurelia were only 7 months old, so they wouldn't remember their first Christmas, but Barney and Robin wanted to make a big thing of Santa anyways. Barney stepped back to admire his hard work. Robin had fallen asleep on the couch when he was rushing outside and back into track snow through the living room. It would melt by morning, but showed up in the pictures he just took. There were plenty of gifts under the tree. Half were from Barney to Robin or vice versa, but the rest were for the twins. The stockings were stuffed to the brim. Barney smiled. He turned the lights off and climbed on the couch next to Robin, not bothered to go to bed. He kissed her forehead. Merry Christmas, Mama. /N. The wailing was relentless as Barney tried desperately to quiet his daughter. Everly had been crying non-stop for almost 2 days, and neither he or Robin could figure out what was wrong. The twins were teething, so crying a lot from that, but this was different. Evie's cries were sharp and pained. They figured she was sick, but when they called the pediatrician to ask what could be wrong, she just claimed it was pain from teething. Barney and Robin both knew it wasn't. They knew their daughters, and knew something was wrong. Come on, baby girl. Barney cooed, sitting on the couch and putting his 8-month-old into his lap. He had been singing nursery rhymes for the past hour, hoping to lull her to sleep. It wasn't helping. Sure, I know you don't feel well. Going to sleep will make you feel better. Robin gently closed the door to the nursery behind her, where she had just gotten Aurelia to quiet down and fall asleep. She was having pretty bad teething pain, but it was different to Everly. She watched her husband for a second. Still no luck. No. Barney sighed. I wish she could talk properly, and just tell me what's wrong. Robin smiled. That would be nice. She stepped forward and put her hand on the infant's forehead. When was the last time you took her temperature? About an hour ago. Why? Robin frowned. She feels warm. She picked up the thermometer from the mess on the coffee table. They'd been wrapped up in the twins for a few days, and had been leaving mess everywhere. The apartment was a pigsty. She took Everly's temperature, and looked at the number displayed on the screen. 101 degrees Fahrenheit. Holy crap, Barney. What? What's up? He asked, having completely zoned out on what was going on. Robin shoved the thermometer into his hand and he checked the screen. 101 degrees, Robin, that's really high. I know. What do we do? Barney shifted Everly into one arm and pulled his phone out. We need to take her to the hospital, baby. I'll text Lily and see if she can come over and watch Aurelia. You go get a bag for Eves, okay? Robin nodded, swallowing her panic. She tiptoed back into the nursery, careful not to disturb the sleeping baby. She shoved diapers, clothes, pacifiers and a few stuffed animals into a bag, then left the room, closing the door gently behind her. She was practically trembling with anxiety as Barney finished his phone call. The thought of her baby in a hospital was horrifying to her. Thank you, guys, so much. I'll see you soon. Bye. Barney hung up the phone. Okay, so Marshall, Lily and the kids are coming over, to stay with the kids. Lily offered to come with us, but I think it's better if it's just the two of us. Okay. Robin whispered. Barney looked up. Hey, baby. Don't worry, he paused to pull her into a hug, it's going to be okay. She'll be fine. Robin nodded. I just don't like this. I know, I don't like it either. Robin sat next to Barney in the pediatric waiting room of the hospital, Everly crying in her arms. She was attempting to calm her daughter, but nothing was working. She felt so bad for the 8-month-old. Barney was gripping onto Robin's hand, knowing how scared she was. He also knew that him holding her hand was helping her feel better. Everly Stinson? A doctor asked, coming into the waiting room. Barney and Robin stood up and followed the doctor to an examination room. He came in behind them, shutting the door. So, what seems to be going on? Barney sat in the chair beside the hospital bed, watching his wife and daughter sleep. Robin had climbed into bed with Everly, and now both of them were sleeping peacefully. He let his thoughts wander, his mind still churning from the events that took place in the last few hours. 2 hours ago. Robin and Barney sat opposite the doctor, both terrified. Everly was with the nurses now, but nobody had really explained what was going on to them. The doctor cleared his throat, drawing the pair's attention. Okay, so, Everly has a viral infection, so we're just getting her set up in a room now. We want to keep her here overnight, just to monitor her fever and make sure it goes down. We'll put her on an 4-2, just because we want to make sure she's getting the proper amount of fluids. You should be able to take her home tomorrow, or the day after that, if everything goes well. She'll be on antibiotics though. Keep her away from her sister, though. It's very contagious. So, she's okay. We have nothing to worry about. Barney asked. She's okay, yes. Though, you're very lucky you brought her in when you did though. Her fever could have gone up, and that could have had disastrous results. The doctor had no idea what that statement did to Barney. He was completely overtaken with anxiety. He couldn't even trust the girl's normal pediatrician. She had said it was nothing, and Everly was just teething when they had called her. It was a really, really frightening thought. Everly could have died if they hadn't brought her in. Back to the present. Barney shook his head. He shouldn't be thinking that way. She was okay. His heart really went out to every parent who has ever had a sick infant though, because the last few hours had been some of the scariest of his life. He had seen things tonight he wished he could unsee. Really sick kids. It broke his heart. He was a dad now, so he sympathized. It was so sad seeing what some kids and parents have to go through daily, and he wished he could help all of them. He honestly didn't know what he'd do if either of the twins were that sick. He thanked his lucky stars that his girls were born healthy. /N. Hey, so don't freak out. Barney started as he closed the front door to the apartment behind him, putting a cake box on the table beside him. Robin looked up from where she was playing on the living room door with the twins. Uh-oh. I don't like it when you start sentences like that. What? He asked, his voice high-pitched. Name one time I've ever said that. Robin raised her eyebrows. The 3rd of January, 2011. Hi Robin. Barney walked into McLaren's and immediately made a beeline to the booth. She was the only one there. So, don't freak out, but there's some insane chick I banged a while ago outside, and she has a gun. What? I said don't freak out. Do you have your gun? She nodded. Yeah, but. Good, then come on. We have to scare her off. We. He nodded. Yes. Come on. Okay, okay. I'm coming. She got up and ran after him. Are you insane? You're unarmed, Barney. Get behind me. I knew you'd have my back, Sherbatsky. Back to the present. Okay, that one time. Robin laughed. Oh, I'm far from done, Stinson. The 18th of May, 2013. Barney looked up as his fiancée entered the apartment. Oh, hey, baby. What's up? Nothing's up, why would you think something's up? He answered way too fast. She frowned. What did you do? I didn't. Okay, fine, don't freak out, but our wedding band kinda cancelled. What? She yelled. The wedding is in a week. Oh my god, Barney. What are we gonna do? You have to calm down, you look like you're about to pass out. There's going to be no music. This wedding is a disaster. Maybe we shouldn't even be getting married in the first place. Barney scowled. Robin, don't even say that. This wedding is far from a disaster. We'll figure something out, okay? I love you. He kissed her forehead. Okay. I love you too. Back to the present. Barney sighed. That. Shut up. I'm not finished. Noted. Barney replied, a little scared of her tone. The 13th of July, 2018. Are you covered in poop? Robin asked, looking up as her husband entered the living room from the couch where she was nursing Everly. Potentially. She laughed. How? Don't freak out. I won't. I find this highly entertaining actually. He glared at her. Thanks, babe. Anyway, the entire nursery may or may not be covered in poop thanks to lovely Aurelia. What? He scowled. So, it's funny when I'm covered in poop, but when it's the nursery, you're disgusted. It's easy to clean poop off you but not off the walls. She replied, jumping up to go check the damage. Back to the present. Okay, fine. You win. Maybe I do say that a lot. Robin smiled. Thank you. Anyways, what were you saying? It's not a big deal. Barney replied unconvincingly, as he knelt down to pull his daughters into a hug. They had toddled over to him when he opened the door. He stood up with a twin in each of his arms. It's just that those last birthday presents we ordered for the girls aren't going to be here until Monday. What? They promised it'd be here yesterday. They said 12 days. Robin replied. Tomorrow was the 15th of May, and the girl's first birthday. It was important to her that everything was perfect for Everly and Aurelia, because she loved those girls more than anyone. Except for Barney. No, they said 12 business days, baby. It'll be okay though. They're only one, they won't understand. She nodded. Okay, you're right. It'll be fine. Oh, and the venue has termites. What? And your mom and Katie's flight was cancelled. Robin sighed. Oh my god, what else can go wrong? Don't worry. I've got this. I'll fix it. Barney grinned as he laid on a towel beside Robin, his toes in the sand. After a horrendously hectic night, they had finally found a venue, the beach, and managed to send out messages to all the guests. Now, they were enjoying laying in the sand while Ted and Tracy playing with the twins in the ocean. See, this isn't so bad, is it? He asked, grinning at Robin. She smiled back, and put her head on his outstretched arm. No. It's not so bad at all. They both closed their eyes for a minute, rudely awoken when Ted put a wet baby on top of them. Robin laughed and sat up to pull her daughter into her arms, while Barney reached out his arms to take Everly from Tracy. Lily raced in front of them, camera in hand, and knelt down on the sand. Smile, guys. She quickly snapped a photo and smiled, clearly happy with her shot. As Ted, Tracy and Lily ran down to the water's edge to check on their own kid, Robin looked around the beach area, around the shelter they had set up for the party. The party seems to be going well. It's crazy that everyone's getting along so well. Barney added. His mom and Robin's dad were talking, and seemed to be getting along. That was crazy. Normally they'd exchange forced greetings, then ignore each other, as neither agreed with the other's parenting strategies. "I can't believe it's been a year," Robin commented. "I know. It's crazy how fast time moves, isn't it? It's been an insane year." Robin smiled and nodded, getting her phone out and pulling up pictures of the twins as newborns. "I never thought I'd be so happy being a mom. I always just assumed it would make me boring and miserable. I'm glad I get to spend the rest of my life with you." Barney smiled. "Oh, that's sweet, but never say anything that mushy again." Barney snickered, and leaned in to kiss her. "I love you. I love you too," she murmured. Barney broke away from his wife to kiss the top of his daughter's heads. "Happy first birthday, girlies. /N. The 20th of June, 2019. Squeals of laughter and shouts erupted from behind the closed door as Barney edged closer to the apartment door. He smiled for a minute, before hearing Carly yell in anger. Uh-oh. He didn't like the sound of this. He opened the door, and took in the scene inside the apartment, mouth dropping open as he glanced around the room. "What in God's name happened in here?" he asked, his gaze falling on Carly. She looked up, panic evident in her face. "Barney. You weren't supposed to be home yet. I left you alone with my kids for 1 hour and you ruined my entire apartment." He stopped short, seeing his daughter sitting on the ground, covered in some kind of goo. Most of the kitchen was covered in the same goo. "Carly, what the hell is all over Evie?" He picked up the giggling 1-year-old and held her away from his body. Yogurt, cupcake batter, cologne and body lotion." Barney blinked slowly. "Do I even want to know how?" "Well, she and Aurelia were bored." He cut her off. "Where is Aurelia?" "Her bedroom. Napping," Carly replied. "Anyways, they were bored and fussy, so I decided to have them help me make cupcakes, and I put the batter in the beater and Everly was getting cranky because she was hungry, so I left Aurelia sitting on the counter." "What the hell is wrong with you? You can't leave a 13-month child sitting on the counter unattended. She could seriously hurt herself." Barney scolded. I know. I'm sorry. But, I left Leah on the counter, and put Eves in her high chair with some yogurt." While my back was turned, Aurelia started playing with the dials on the beater, and turned it up to 5. "So, that's how the batter got splattered everywhere. So Lily's covered in batter too." "Well, she was, and I took her into the bathroom to bathe her, but I forgot that I left Everly in her high chair, and when I came back to get her, she had already flipped the yogurt all over herself." Barney pressed his hands against his temples. "Oh my God. I'm sorry. But, I'm still not finished yet. While I was bathing Aurelia, Everly got into the cabinet under the sink and played with some of the stuff under there. She used 2 bottles of your cologne and got Robin's body lotion all over herself before I noticed. It looked expensive too. Robin's going to kill you. And I'm not going to stop her. I'm so sorry, Barney. I'll replace the lotion if it was super expensive." He shook his head. "No, not because of the damn lotion. Because you coated our entire kitchen in cupcake batter, put our daughter in danger of falling to her death and were pretty irresponsible when caring for the other one. I really am sorry. Here, I'll go bathe Evie, and then clean up the kitchen." She took the baby from his arms, and left towards the bathroom. Barney sighed, and started wiping batter off the counter, listening to the sounds of the water running in the other room. He was interrupted by a sweet voice through the baby monitor. "Dada." Barney smiled, and headed towards the nursery, edging open the door. "Hi baby girl, are you awake?" He blinked in the darkness, waiting for his eyes to adjust, then gasped when they did. Aurelia rose. There wasn't much that he could do to reprimand her, as she was so young. But, somehow, she had managed to get her little hands on a packet of crayons and had drawn all over the wall. He prayed it would come off. He scooped Aurelia into his arms and opened the nursery door, in time to see his other daughter crawl past, completely naked. She could walk, but was so much faster at crawling. "Everly. Get your little butt over here," Carly yelled, running into the living room, chasing after the naked toddler. As Barney moved to help grab his daughter, the front door opened. His eyes flew to the entryway, and his wife's startled face. "Robin. Hey, how was your day?" She looked up at Barney, her mouth still agape, and closed the door again, staying outside of the apartment. Barney put Aurelia down on the living room floor, next to the twins' toys, and looked over to Carly. "Well, have fun cleaning this place." "Where are you going?" "With Robin." "Technically, we're paying you for another hour and a half. So, have fun." He smiled and turned around. "See ya." The 30th of July, 2019. Robin stood outside the church Gary Blomman was getting married in, watching her daughter and Penny giggling and playing tag in the grass. Florence was on her hip, the 2-year-old's face sleepily buried in her aunt's neck. Evie, I think it's time to go back inside now." The younger of the two girls froze in her spot and turned to face her mother, uttering one word. "No." 4-year-old Penny was much more advanced in tactics to get what she wants. Ted was a pushover, and Tracy hated being the bad cop, and ended up agreeing with Ted most of the time. So, granted that they were clever about it, Penny and Luke got their way a lot. Penny looked over to Robin. "May we please have 5 more minutes, Aunt Robin? I promise after that we'll go back inside and stay quiet for the whole time." Robin noted her niece's vocabulary was astounding. She was very clearly Ted's daughter. She sighed. "Fine. 5 more minutes. But after that, we're going inside." "Okay, Penny." "Thank you." Penny replied, turning back to play with her cousin. "Flory, come play with us." At the mention of her name, Florence looked up from Robin's shoulder. "Down," she commanded. "Okay, bossy boots." Robin put the girl on the ground, then muttered, "You're just like your mother." She stood back and watched as the 3 girls giggled and squealed, playing nicely with each other. She started to zone out, snapping back into consciousness as she saw her 1-year-old go to sit down in the mud. "No, Everly." "Not in the," she sighed, surrendering as Everly sat down, the bottom of her light pink and white dress becoming covered in mud, dirt. Florence followed her cousin, giggling as she crouched down in the dirt, the ends of the frilly skirt Lily had her in also getting covered in mud. "Florence, come on, honey. You're old enough to know not to sit in the mud. Mommy's going to be cranky." She scolded the almost 3-year-old. "Penny, that's enough time. We're going." "But." "No buts." Robin scooped Everly up onto one hip, Florence onto the other and grasping Penny's hand, then hurrying inside, the best she could on 7-inch heels. They got into the church before the ceremony began, while people were still talking. Robin sighed with relief, and quickly hustled the 3 girls over to the pew reserved for the gang and their kids. Barney smiled as he saw the dirty state of his daughter's dress. Of course Everly would find mud anywhere. He chuckled, holding his arm out, the one that wasn't occupied with Aurelia, who was happily sleeping in her dad's arms, to take Everly off Robin. She gratefully handed the 1-year-old over, then lifted Penny onto Ted's lap, and passed Florence over to Marshall. Lily gasped when she saw her daughter's dress. "Florence Edith Erickson. What did you do to your pretty dress?" "Nothing, Mommy." "Robin?" Lily asked, glaring at her friend. "Don't leave me with your children." Barney laughed at his wife's outburst, and quickly stopped as the music began. "Robin, come here. It's about to start." She quickly hurried over, and took her place next to her husband, watching as the ceremony began. Barney had to bite his tongue to keep from laughing while watching Gary Blomman and his fiancée, Matt's wedding. The 18th of November, 2019. Robin grinned as she curled her body against Barney's, careful not to spill the glass of wine in her other hand. They had just tucked the girls in, and it was the first time in 18 months that neither of them were too tired to have a night to just the two of them. They were watching a movie. An adult movie, that wasn't about kissing frogs or magic carpets. Just as the movie was starting, Aurelia tottered into the living room, crying softly. Barney nudged his wife. He looked at the 18-month-old. She was standing beside the couch, wearing light blue and white polka dot pajamas, her rather long brunette curls tied into pigtails and the light from the TV illuminating her features. "What's wrong, princess. Robin untangled herself from her husband and put her wine glass on the coffee table. She held her arms open, inviting her daughter into them. Aurelia obliged, and toddled closer to her mom. Robin pulled her up onto the couch. "What happened, baby girl?" "Kay, mommy," Aurelia replied. Barney glanced at Robin, a puzzled expression on his face. "What does Kay mean?" he muttered to himself. "Lily, what do you mean?" "Kay, Dada," the child sobbed. "Scary," Robin translated. "Did you have a bad dream, baby?" She felt the child nod into her chest. "It's all okay, baby girl. It's not real," Barney soothed, putting his arm around Robin and pulling the two closer to him. Aurelia fell asleep pretty quickly in her mom's arms, but Robin had no desire to move her and put her back to bed yet. She was adoring cuddling both her daughter and her husband. It was only a couple of minutes until Robin nodded off too. Barney smiled. He turned the TV off, and covered the two girls with a blanket, then sat back against the couch for a minute. Robin looked happier than he'd ever seen her nowadays. He laughed gently. "I don't want kids my ass, Sherbatsky." The 3rd of December, 2019. "You two had to choose today to do this." Lily puffed, adjusting the box in her hands. At the other end, Robin heaved the box up onto the stair landing. "We didn't know the elevator would be broken. Besides, you two didn't have to come to help." "Yes, we did. You guys are pathetic. You planned to take all these boxes up 17 flights of stairs on your own, and Barney doesn't even know what a screwdriver is." "Lily, that's my husband you're talking about," Robin replied, a hint of annoyance in her voice. She was honestly sick of Barney's lack of a father figure while he was growing up, make him the butt of everyone else's jokes, especially things like tools. "Sorry." Robin shook her head, "It's fine. Come on, let's just get this last box inside." The two reached down and grabbed the box, hauling it into the apartment. They took it to what was once Everly and Aurelia's nursery, and was now the twins' bedroom. Well, it would be once the beds were set up. Marshall and Barney were sprawled across the floor, attempting to put the first bed together. "How did you two find the most complicated instruction manual in the world?" Marshall asked, looking up at the doorway. The two women dropped the box with a grunt. Robin straightened up and caught her breath, then replied, "Don't look at me." "That was all Barney." "Was not," he yelled. He hesitated. "Okay, maybe I chose it, but it wasn't because it looked easy to set up, it was because it looked safe. And expensive," Robin muttered. Marshall looked up from the manual. "Okay, Barney. It looks like you have to pick up the screwdriver and screw the nail in." Barney looked at the tools on the ground beside him, and picked up the hammer. "That's a hammer," Marshall replied. "Here, Daddy." Aurelia picked up the screwdriver and handed it to her dad. Lily snorted with laughter. "Your almost 2-year-old daughter knows which one it is and you don't. That's sad, Barney. It was a lucky guess." "Go to mommy, Leah," Barney replied. Marshall looked at Barney. "Screwdriver, bro. You need to screw the bolt." Barney scoffed. "Marshall, the only thing I know how to screw is her." He pointed up to Robin, who had knelt down to wipe chocolate off her daughter's face. "Whoa, okay. Let's go and find the other kids, Lily." Robin shot Barney a pointed look, and she and Lily led the girl out of the room. In the living room, Marvin, Everly, Daisy and Florence played an imaginary game that involved running around the room, while all holding random objects from the room. These included someone's phone, an unlit candle, a pillow and a doll. Lily and Robin sat up at the counter, and Robin started making coffee. Lily sighed heavily. "It's sad." "What is?" Robin asked. "This. We're all getting old. It's like we've moved on to the next stage. No more babies and stuff, you know." Robin shrugged. "Well, I wouldn't say no more babies." "Oh my God!" Lily yelled. "Oh God, you're pregnant, aren't you?" "Oh my God, oh my God." "No, I'm not. I'm just saying." It was no use. Lily wasn't listening. "Marshall. Get out here." Both Marshall and Barney joined their wives in the kitchen, curious about all the yelling. Lily looked over at Marshall. "Pay up, baby. Robin's pregnant." "What?" Marshall nearly yelled. Barney laughed. "She's not." "I'm not." "For God's sake, listen to me, Lily." Robin laughed as she said, "All I meant was that Barney and I are really not that careful with our birth control." "I mean, she's not wrong," Barney replied, high-fiving Robin. The 5th of January, 2020. Barney jolted awake in the dead of night to a noise in the living room. He rolled over and unlocked his phone to check the time. 3 am. The bed beside him was empty. Alarm bells rang in his head as he whisper-shouted her name into the darkness. When there was no reply, he climbed out of bed and walked down the hallway. In the living room, Robin was curled up on the couch with Everly. The TV was on, and it was playing a hockey game. "What are you doing?" he asked. She looked behind her and smiled at him. "Hey, Barn. Why are you two awake?" "We're watching the hockey championships." "Why?" "I love it," she replied, "and so does Evie." Barney sighed. "You dragged our daughter out of bed to watch a hockey game with you." "I love hockey," Everly said. "Hockey, baby girl," Robin corrected. She looked up to Barney. "See? She loves watching hockey with me. Or she's just doing it to get out of bedtime," he replied, walking over to the couch. He reached down and picked up the girl. "Come on, princess. Bedtime." Everly resisted. "No." "Yes." He picked up the remote and turned the TV off, then looked down to Robin. "You too. Bedtime. You have work early tomorrow morning." "I'm an adult," she muttered. Barney gritted his teeth. "Mommy, let's set a good example for the child." "Okay. Fine. Buzzkill." He scoffed. "Love you too." Robin stood in the kitchen, unboxing the deliveries that she had bought from Amazon. Barney sat on the couch, working, while occasionally looking up to and at the items Robin had bought. He didn't pay much attention until he heard her giggle, literally giggle at something. He looked up and squinted at the shirt in her hands. It was for the twins, but he couldn't make out what it was. "What is that, babe?" She smiled and turned the jersey around. "It's a jersey for Evie." "No. You didn't." "Oh, I did. Vancouver Canucks." Barney groaned. "Robin, seriously?" "Yep. Guess what?" "What?" "It's personalized. With your last name." She replied with a smile. Barney rolled his eyes, but couldn't stop himself from laughing. "Evie. Come here, baby girl," Robin yelled. The 20-month-old tottered into the living room from her bedroom. "What, Mommy?" "Hi baby. Look what I got you." "Like the hockey man?" Robin grinned. "Yeah, just like what the hockey men wear." He teased her, but the look of pure joy Barney could see in Robin's eyes at having a daughter who was into the hockey thing with her. It made him happy, too. Her smile was contagious. /N. The end.